Hello everybody, my name is Kendall if you didn't already know, and if you've never been to my channel you should click that subscribe button that is right down below and enter my little family. So I absolutely love conspiracy theories and I wanted to talk about my favorite one with you guys. I think it is so interesting, so kind of creepy, and just really awful. Basically, it is the conspiracy theory based on the Titanic. I'm sure many of you have heard it, and if you haven't, you should definitely stay tuned because this is crazy. And in no way am I saying this is real, factual evidence. It is not. It is just purely information that has been gathered by so many different people and that so many people think is interesting. It could be false, it could be true. Nobody knows. It's never been claimed that it is true. And in the event of this, it was purely awful and so many people lost their lives. And I don't mean to offend anyone by this video. I think it is awful that this happened to them, and I pray that their families are okay and anything, but I just want to go over the fact of what happened and how insanely crazy this story is. There's a company called the White Star Line, and the White Star Line is a big company with like boats and yachts and big ships, and it is owned or funded by the man JP Morgan. And many of you have probably heard of JP Morgan. He's a big person in that industry, and he also owns Chase Bank, I guess, from what I've heard. Super weird. I don't know. He was very financially well, super wealthy man. So basically he created the ships, the Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic. Now the boats, or the ships that I'm going to be talking mainly about in this video, are the Titanic and the Olympic. And I'm sure that many of you obviously know the story of the Titanic, that it went out on a cruise and it had many people and they were vacationing, and in the middle of the night they hit an iceberg. The ship split in half and only a few people made it out alive, and the rest passed away, sadly, because of the frigid cold waters. And basically the story goes that the Titanic wasn't really the Titanic, that it was the sister ship, the Olympic, that actually sunk. The Olympic was a ship that they were going to set sail originally, but that ship had had a bunch of problems. It had gotten in shipwrecks, there were problems with systems in it, I don't really know. All I know is that they weren't supposed to send it out. And apparently they created the Titanic to look extremely similar to the Olympic so they could commit insurance fraud. What happened is they switched out the ships, they sunk the Titanic, which they had made, and set the Olympic out to sail or go on the cruise as the Titanic. Now there are so many pictures and forums and videos about how different these ships are. They are sister ships, but there were many things that were different about them. So when the Titanic was supposed to set off, there are hundreds of pictures that have 14 portholes, and the windows are all spread super wide apart, they're not super close, and there are so many differences in the ships. Now when they found the sunken ship, the ship had 16 portholes, which is the amount the Olympic had, which is super odd because you would think that you can't make portholes after the ship has been built. Could be wrong, but it's super odd, and I think that's insane. Another thing that is super crazy about this is the fact that they were short on staff, or a lot of people didn't want to work on the ship. I don't know. I watched a video by Griffin Arnland, and I also watched one by Kendall Krone, and Griffin Arnland's video talked about how people didn't want to work because there was a rumor going on that the boats were switched and that they were committing insurance fraud, and that there was going to be a big accident and a lot of people were going to get injured. So basically people weren't accepting jobs, or they weren't applying, so they were short-staffed on a lot of the things they needed help for, like the steam room and the engines and just everything that went wrong. They were short-staffed, or they had enough staff, but people really didn't want to be there, which is super crazy. You would think that people would want to go on this experience of a lifetime and go on this amazing cruise all over, but they didn't want to. And this is what gets me. This is what gets me. The man, JP Morgan, was supposed to go on the Titanic, was supposed to go on the cruise with his wife and a bunch of his friends, and they were all supposed to go, and it was going to be some huge party just because he funded this boat, and it was supposed to be an amazing time. A couple days before the ship actually set sail, JP Morgan canceled his trip, and so did many of his friends, and he said he was too sick to go, and it was very upsetting to a lot of people, and all of his friends canceled just because he did too. And after the ship had actually set sail, there were allegedly pictures of him and news of him being in Paris, France with his mistress, which is super weird. You would think that if he was sick, he would be at home, being taken care of, not off in France, or if he wasn't sick, he would be on the Titanic that he paid for. I don't know. It's super duper weird and scary, and I don't know, that's what gets me, is like the man who created this boat is not going on it. That has to say something about it. The last thing that I'm going to talk about that is super scary and really weird and just irks me to the core is that the man JP Morgan, who I've been talking about this whole entire video, sorry for repeating his name, also owned a ship or a little boat called the Californian. And it carried about 3,000 or so, what they say, life jackets, woolen blankets, just a bunch of amenities that could help a potential shipwreck. And it was out in the middle of the ocean, apparently very, very close to where the Titanic sank. And it's super weird that it would just be out there in the middle of the ocean, conveniently just not so far away, and not help them. Apparently, the captain of that little ship had been asleep and had not heard the distress calls from the Titanic, but apparently also people aboard the ship who have been since are still alive and got off the ship said that while they were frantic and there was so much chaos going on, that people that worked for the ship were telling them that the California was coming and they were coming to help them, and they had blankets and they had life jackets and lifeboats, and that everybody was going to be okay. And that's so weird that a ship that's not so far away wouldn't come to help them after them being told that they were going to be saved by this ship that the man that owns the Titanic also owns. It seems staged and a little bit weird. 12 miles. How do you not hear a sinking ship and screaming people, or see the fire, or see the ship, or something, or nothing, or how do you not hear the distress signals? 12 miles. It's 12 miles away. It had to be there on purpose. Why is it sitting in the middle of the ocean 12 miles from where the boat sank, from where the Titanic sank? Why? 12 miles. That's such a short distance when you think about it. It would be different if it was like 500 miles away, 100 miles away, like 50 miles away. 12 miles. 12 miles. 12 miles. What the heck? So overall, I just think this conspiracy theory is absolutely insane, and it's so interesting, and I wish that I could find more information. It's just very scattered and so hard to find just like factual evidence. I have incorporated a bunch of pictures, and hopefully you guys will think it is as interesting as I do. Leave your opinions down in the comments below. If you think it was real, if you think it wasn't, I would love to know. And if you know more on this situation, please let me know in the comments, let me know on Twitter. I am more than interested in learning more about this. And if you guys have any other conspiracy theories that you want me to talk about, I would love to. I think conspiracy theory videos would be a fun series on my channel, so if you have any more that you would like to see, please comment them down below. I will see you guys very, very soon with another video because I upload Mondays and Fridays, and I love you all so, so very much. Peace out, guys.